in 1918, we didn't know what was the virus. We were still discussing the fact that maybe it was a bacteria. So it means not only we did not know who was the virus, but with not, of course, we did not have any vaccine, molecules, we had nothing. So it was basically the chaos. And besides that, the memory of the pandemics was that of a terrible disaster linking war, international war, deadly war, and epidemics. So basically, we know now that the number of the dead was about in the world was about the same as the people who were killed in the war. So this mixture of war and epidemics was just a picture and a remembrance of chaos.
But what about 1957? What about 1968? Those seem to have been erased from our collective memory. Nobody talks about them here in France.
Very little, especially 57 and more than that, 68. My generation, who unfortunately lived already at that time, does not remember anything. Even if I was for the second one, I mean the one of 68, I was a medical student. And in fact, I remember, of course, May 68, but not the epidemic. I remember it because I read it in books. But as a living person, I don't remember anything.
And yet, for the time being, the death toll is higher from that period of 1968 to 1970 when you had the Hong Kong flu here in France. You had something, an astounding number of 1/3 of rail workers in France, 1/3 of postal workers who were laid off, who were off work because they were sick at the time. And yet, as Anne-Marie was saying, people didn't really talk about it much. They got on with their lives, they say.
Nous avons des carcasses de fer, nous ne prenons jamais rien, autrement dit que nous sommes invulnérables.
De toute façon, si on l'a, ben on l'a, hein. On ne peut rien y faire.
Il n'y a pas lieu de s'affoler, parce que cette épidémie évoluera probablement comme une épidémie saisonnière assez banale.
Yeah, Anne-Marie Moulin, what do you think when you listen back to people back then and today and the zero risk mind frame that today's world has?
I think you're right. The zero risk is mentality is invading our minds. And I think it was partly fostered by, firstly, the idea that maybe medicine could extend life to, I don't know, 100 years, 1 century for everybody. The second thing is that the threat of terrorism was very important since September 11. And since September 11, people are obsessed by the safety, the protection from the foreigners, many things. So I think the risk of the epidemic and the wish zero death is very important.